It's Monday, my favorite day of the week, because we get a chance to vibe with each other. Brother Metamorphosis in the house. We're here to speak on the topic, Plantation Politics, low vibratory, unholy vampires attacking Black history. And you know, in this world, we have low vibratory, unholy vampires attacking people personally, which I won't mention, but we just spoke about it. So even though we know that the enemy may look a certain way, we always don't know exactly by the look. It could be somebody who looks like you know?
Yeah, it's more of a spiritual. And, you know, I get more of those emails now, you know, as we go on. You know how we said, if you throw a rock and you don't hear a dog holler, you're not throwing it in the right crowd.
There you go.
And so whenever I get any type of feedback like that, I take it. I'm like, okay, that's good. That means that there is something, because low vibratory people are always going to hate on anything you do. That is just how nature is constructed with the, you know, the law of polarity. But it also, because, you know, it hurts. Now, anybody that doesn't admit this is not being realistic, okay? It hurts when somebody betrays you, okay? Now, you may not, you know, depending on the type of betrayal and what, you know, you've done for this individual, what have you. But betrayal, the sting of betrayal is still the same. But the flip side to that is, like what's happening to a lot of people that are casualties of war now because they want to destroy Black progress, is that, well, you can't come to me again.
There you go.
Yeah, that's part about it. And so that's sort of like the thing that kind of put the icing on the cake is, okay, that's fine. What would have been worse is for you to continue the charade, and then you really do something that could offset progress, even though I don't see what that could be. But certainly there are people out there who we have vibed with and vibed at a certain level that have chosen to go back down, you know, in the fucking crabs. But
you know what I found and what I've learned and what I'm learning in these recent years and actual months because of this, and things that I've been through before, like you swear these people, they're in your inner circle. And when you find out they're not, they come at you harder than
they do.
The enemy. Right.
They do. Yeah.
And you realize you've had this venom in them for a long time, that it was percolating and just festering up. That's got to be a bad feeling. And see, this is the thing. What I've learned about social media and what I've learned about especially YouTube, in the Black community, we have so many people who speak righteous, best of their ability, but they're only speaking righteous because the words are lifted from elsewhere. But what's in the heart? See, there are many people on social media who talk Black, who act Black, who say all the right things, but when they go against white supremacy and speak against it, they're blaming supremacy for their own personal failures. You see, like when you speak about these things, you're like a doctor, very clinical, very, very precise. You go in with surgical precision, but you have many people who are just blurting out stuff and let's pick a topic and let's talk. And they're mad, really, that if they had their personal life together, which obviously it's not, they take it out on that. And when they see someone who still works the righteous principles of being disciplined and focused and determination, because I say, no matter how many times I get knocked down, there's no system of white supremacy or racism that's going to stop me.
Mm-hmm.
So
That is
if
a
I
fact.
execute the plan and have been successful with it in a very concrete way, don't be mad, be inspired.
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
I don't think like that to look over to the next person and say, oh, they're doing better than me. And he think he got it made out there. But I'm going to tell you, trying to preach doom into your life.
Wow.
But the more you preach doom into my life, it won't have an effect except the opposite effect.
Yeah.
Because I'm an energy converter. I can utilize positive energy very easily, but I can take your negative energy and it pushes me up even higher. And this is how we have to think. Yes, brother. It's been a week, but progressive nonetheless. And I'm very happy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you're in the ring and you still got the belts, I mean, it might have been a tough fight, but at the end of the day, I still got the belts. and so, you're always going to have challengers that are always going to come at you from both sides. Yes. And so, we know what that's about, brother. The thing is you're doing great, man. You're surviving. You're still putting the necessary messages out. And that's what's important. We're not going to satisfy everybody. In fact, if you're satisfying everybody, you're doing something wrong.
Exactly.
Because we know every time we move forward, there's going to be a big ass mountain there. And then sometimes it's going to be a big valley you're going to drop into.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, again, brother, good to greet you on Mondays. Everybody under the sound of my voice. We got some serious stuff going on in our nation and all around the world. This was predictable, although a lot of people were bamboozled. Black people were not bamboozled because we've been to this dance before several times. We've had the same prom queens, and pretty much it's always been the same results. But I'm happy, sort of like what we were talking about, that, okay, you stuck me real good on that one, but you won't get another chance to do it.
There you go.
Unfortunately, when you're talking about people that are in positions of power and authority, then that jab is not just a jab, okay? It's a knockout. And so whenever you get knocked out, the great ones get back up, okay? And they keep going. And that's what you have to do, brother. You're great for our people. It doesn't matter to me what someone else's opinion is for you. You and Mrs. Skirb have taken your stripes, so to speak, and you've shown that irregardless to what your position is on any subject, you have the right to express that. And we're grateful for you being someone that leads with truth.
Thank you, brother.
So, yeah, man. So if you want to put that banner up there again today, we'll go in because this is very important to our people, what's going on at this time. And one of the things that low vibratory, unholy vampires attacking Black history. And we know this is plantation politics. But, we have to go back when we look at this picture of real history. We have to always go back to what Malcolm taught us about the house nigga and the field nigga. Because those are characteristics that still haunt our people to this day. It's one of the things that actually state one of the negative traits that were transferred from plantation politics into our world today. So I get a lot of people asking me, well, what do you mean by, and I've mentioned this again, but I'll mention it today because we're going to go into this system to take a real look at what the system is, who is responsible for controlling this system, what their primary goal of the system is, and what it means to those now who are what you refer to as casualties of war. Okay, mainly the middle class, and mainly those who benefited from this system by not speaking out and saying, hey, you know, what are you doing to this class of people? We need to do something different. But as long as you're benefiting from it, it wasn't an issue. But now we see the true picture of what's going on. And we're going to talk about, some of you guys may have heard me quote these two particular scripts we're going to deal with today. But I'm going to do it again because as we go into the work, we want our people to stay engaged. And we know it is what it is, that if we don't talk about something pertaining to the scripts, to, you know, open our people's pineal gland, then they'll turn a blind eye. That's just the way it is. So we're going to solve that issue by putting out a couple of scripts that will actually explain this evil, wicked, low vibratory, unholy vampire system. I can't even think of enough words to describe it, but they all come back to the same character. So first we're going to talk about the Luciferian system, because this system was part of the plantation politics. Because when you look back at, say, the Willie Lynch theory, when you look back at things like this, you have to realize that this is an unholy plan, okay, that's put into motion by low vibratory people, which means they're not connected to the real spirit of the creator creatures. But the Luciferian system, we're going to talk about, the first script we're going to use is Isaiah 14:12 through 16. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How are you cut down to the ground, which has weakened the nations? I'm going to read that again because this is very important in regards to really looking at this system for what it is and how they are trying to reinstitute this system, okay, by doing all of the low vibratory, unholy things that you can think of to actually destroy Black history, which cannot be done because Black history is world history, and particularly American history. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning, and how are you cut down to the ground, which has weakened the nations? Because we've seen what this system has done, primarily to people of color all over the world, although all people are starting to feel the sting of this. For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. And this is white supremacy. And I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, and I will be the most high. This is the God complex. But they have no power to create anything that's in nature. Yet you shall be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit, and they that see you shall narrowly look upon you and consider you, saying, is this the man, not the God that you think you are, but is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? You shall not be joined with them, because you have destroyed the land and slain the people. And the seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. So in other words, you ain't going where we going. I don't know where you're going, but you ain't going. So Now let's talk about this system, okay, of plantation politics that's being used today. And what's so refreshing now when you hear our people talk, it's not this emotionalism that they used to use against us before. So they're going to have to go back to the drawing board. We know what that is, because these plantation politics are not going to work anymore, in the sense that they don't wield the same power over us, socially, economically, than they did at that time. Okay, because at that time, we had to go along to get along. We didn't have a choice. Okay, Black folks did not have a choice in terms of what choices they had. So if you knew somebody was deliberately trying to destroy you and those that look like you during this time in history, you really didn't have a voice against that. And see, this is behind a lot of the little petty games that the plantation politics they're using right now. So let's talk about some of the things that they do, and how now Black people have realized and can see it, how this plantation politics is going to backfire on them. First, let's talk about the big thing, and that is eliminating your income. Okay. This is accomplished by causing fake trade wars and crashing financial markets. See, this is by design, okay? Because anybody that knows anything about 101 economics knows that you don't make it harder you don't bite the hand that's feeding you. Okay, there's a difference between running a government and a business. Okay, let's stop with this little silly game. Oh, there are business people and these are businessmen. No. Okay, no. And on top of that, you raise the prices on everyday things that we use here in this country, or people all around the world. And you have created a dynamic that did not need. This is like putting more pain unnecessarily on people. Now, who would do that? I don't want to hear none of these people with this Christian nationalist stuff defending this, okay? Because this has gotten to a point where you're literally, like we read what Isaiah said is going to happen to you. You have literally caused a global catastrophe that did not have to be. Okay. So once they crash the markets, so all of the 401ks, all of the savings that you have in stocks, all of that is going to decrease, devalue. Okay. So when you look at how this ties into plantation politics, this is actually what they did to our people during the sharecropping era of 150 years, is that, you know, they didn't have any resources once they left the plantation. They couldn't even read or write. So they had to depend on the good Christians who always kept them. 150 years is a long time in a perpetual cycle of slavery. Okay, you can call it whatever you want, but and poverty, which is very cruel. It takes an unholy person. Okay, I don't care what you say about some Holy Ghost. That is not what Black people have experienced in this country. Okay. So the first thing they do is they eliminate your income. Okay, and like I said, the reason they do that, there are a lot of people from other cultures who, to them, are just casualties of war at this point. They don't really care, and you see that now. So they are manipulating the world's resources. We see this, okay, and they threaten the world leaders with chaos. This is all a part of what the Luciferian system does, okay, such as shutting down electric grids around the world, disrupting distribution lines. Which is similar to the strategy they use in war of cutting off enemy supply lines. So basically, there's a war against you, okay? And the sooner you recognize this, the better you'll be able to defend yourself against this. And stop telling our children that if they kumbaya with these people, they're going to be okay. When we see, okay, an all-out attack and war on our people. They have also threatened another massive health crisis of biblical proportion. Why? How? Well, first of all, you eliminate any of the facilities, institutions, people that will be able to help people when this massive health crisis breaks out. So what does that mean? More people are going to die. More people are going to end up in the hospital. Okay. So when you look back at the experience of our people on the plantation, this is the exact same thing that they experienced. This is why they don't want this part of history to be dealt with this way, in a truthful manner. Okay. Because this is, I was supposed to, hold on. I was supposed to be in solidarity with this. Let me get my hat. Well, okay, brother, you can remove that.
Okay.
Thank you. I want to be in solidarity with the brothers in the cotton field. I got my hat, even though I've never picked cotton.
You go.
Yeah, so I want to be in solidarity with them. You know what I mean? But yeah, they're threatening another massive health crisis of biblical proportion. All of the global agencies that make financial decisions now have to go back and look at how they're going to deal with this. So we're going to have a massive medical situation on our hand, sort of like third world countries, or what they call third world countries. The other big thing too is they also feed off of the energy of hate, destruction, drug addiction, and death. And again, they cannot stay alive without this energy. Okay. I am convinced 1000%. I've looked everywhere to see if that was possible. They cannot. Because if they could, they wouldn't seek to put the world in chaos. Okay. And just like the video we did to serve man, we can see now who their real meal is. It's you. Okay. Because when all these people start dying, well, we don't know what they're going to do with it, but I ain't even going to go there. All natural functions are under attack. Okay. The people that have traded their soul to these counterfeit and unholy spirits are now being cashed in. Okay. They're being cashed in. See, and I always go back to that movie, the Wishmaster, right? Yeah, when he comes back to collect. You can have the wishes you want, the 3 wishes you want, but at some point he's coming back to collect. You have been lied to by the people that you have put your trust in to run the world. Okay. And we see that now people are realizing they've been bamboozled and they're emotionally distraught. But see, that could have never been done if the hate for Black people wasn't there. And the reason why this is done, just like everything else in our society, is because the litmus test is, well, how bad is it going to hurt those Black people? Or what do they say? Those colors. How bad is it going to hurt them? And based on how much we're going to suffer economically and every other way, socially, where we're perceived as below, inferior, lazy, don't want to work, now we're seeing, well, are you saying these people are lazy and don't want to work? So, so the reason why they hate you, as we always say in every video, is because you are the carrier of the God frequency that they have been looking for, slamming protons together or whatever they do to try to, you know what I mean, to try to discover what they already know exists inside of you. They hate you, and they express that energy through their handlers and low vibratory people. And they also keep tabs on you. They know everything that you upload and download. And we know how they do that through YouTube and whatnot. So it's no secret. Now, I want to look at something that's very, very important because, oh, by the way, let me read this second script. This particular section that we're going to deal with, I named Plandemic, and that there is nothing new under the sun. Because, see, they have planned all of these different pandemics now that's going to be released, okay, upon the world. Okay. Everywhere you look, this same Luciferian spirit is upending societies all over the globe. And as we look at America, this pandemic, first of all, the definition of pandemic is the widespread idea of an epidemic spread by money and power. So that's the reason why they can use fiat and their power in government or business or whatever they're in to do this. And they do this to achieve a type of control or increased investment. So when they gain control over the markets or whatever they're trying to do right now, right, it's only to increase their investments because I was watching this documentary. They've been preparing, man, for 30, 40 years, okay? They got cities underneath the ground that they have built, shelters. So while they bamboozling us, they've been preparing. And when I say they, I'm talking about the wealthy, because they have put the planet in this predicament. And now they're trying. But what they don't know is, the way I see it, this is why China is drilling into the earth. Okay, this is just my own opinion, because when I observe things, I look at it totally different from how we've been taught. That's the only way I can make sense of things. People say, well, why is China drilling so deep into the earth? Because guess what? Those cities, those bunkers that you hide and trying to hide in, the Chinese, they're going to be able to define you. That's what I believe. And so there is no hiding place. I remember a song by Bob Marley, right? There is no hiding place when you have destroyed civilization. Okay? There is no hiding place for you. I don't care what you do to me or others like me or Lance or whoever. There is a power so great that you are going to, like I read in that first script, you are going to feel it very soon. And what you're doing to people and trying to destroy our people, like your mandate is, it's going to backfire on you. But let's look at what they're doing with the pandemic. First of all, they're using fentanyl, which is probably the most dangerous drug we have seen. And I watch these documentaries about what's going on in society, right? They got a whole nother drug that came out of fentanyl that's called Train, because it's part horse tranquilizer and part fentanyl, the mix. And it's a flesh-eating drug. And it's sick, man. But they're going to use this particular drug and the offshoot of it, Train, to literally kill people out on the street without lifting a finger. When you look at the homelessness situation, and as we talked about the unemployment where they take away your income. Okay, so let's look at there is nothing new under the sun. Why is that script so important? Why is it? So for all you Bible thumpers, I'm not here trying to preach to nobody. When I look at the scripts, I use it for practical social application or social economic application. I don't look at this like the people of God complex have taught you. Okay, I'm not bowing down to any of them. Okay, I'm reading this so our people will see who you are. Okay, so it's Solomon. Let's see, did I write down? I think it's the first. Well, it's the first chapter of Solomon, the 9th verse. Nothing new under the sun, Ecclesiastes, which has always been one of my favorite books along with Proverbs. But what has been is what will be. And what has been done is what will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. Now I'm going to read that again. Because see, we know what has been done from the very first time that our lands were invaded. Okay. And there's nothing new under the sun. And the thing we have to look at is, as the warfares increased, okay, then we're talking World War IV. We're talking electromagnetic warfare. We're not talking about World War III, okay? Remember, we fight on 3 planes: physical, mental, or psychological, and spiritual. And you have to, what they do is the same playbook. They divide our people in all 3 of these areas. So if one is perceived as spiritual, then it doesn't have a physical component. Or if one is viewed, like they teach you sometimes, as a psychological, they use psychological ploys, then it can't be spiritual or physical. See, this is how deep this is. So you, as the only being that's 963 degrees, which they're freaking out now when they're looking at things in the quantum level, this is already inside of you. But let's look what Solomon said. He said, there's nothing new under the sun. What has been is what will be. So in other words, when we look back, Lance, can we put the picture back up again, please? So when we look back at why they are using plantation politics from 250 years ago, the thing that we see immediately, okay, is this connection between there's nothing new under the sun, and what has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done, and there's nothing new under the sun. Now, here's something you don't know, okay? When they read these scripts that we read, and that our people, gung-ho about, which you should be, because this is really just plagiarized information from you, okay? So I won't go into that now, but the point being is that what has been done in the past to our people is going to be done again. And that's why they keep going back 250 years or 200 years, or even back to the 1960s. Okay. They'll keep going back to these times because they're looking for what it was, okay, that they perceived that made them great. Okay. But in that situation, okay, that means that you were the ones in the cotton fields, like on the banner. That's what that means. So Ecclesiastes, the first chapter, 5-6, Solomon said, I am black but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. Look not upon me because I am black, because the sun has looked upon me. And this is deep. My mother's children were angry with me. And see, we see the same dynamic, like I said earlier, with the house nigga, field nigga, or the head nigga in charge. We see this dynamic because our own people strike out at us. They don't even have to use any low vibratory vampires, unholy vampires at us anymore. That ain't even necessary. Okay. They use our own people to attack us. And we see this. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyards, but my own vineyard I have not kept. So, you know, we have been the ones that produce all the wealth. We know the free labor. We know the creation of the inventions that made America great, regardless of whether you want to lie about it or not. We know all these things. We know our history. So by you saying you're going to take down a museum of black, that lives inside of us. There is no way that our genetic memory bank can be destroyed. We have it written down. That's why I write every day. That's why Lance write every day. There's no, so just like when they thought that they destroyed all the documents at Timbuktu, but our people saved 40,000 of those manuscripts. So it's the same thing. You need to start preserving our history and putting it in places. Don't put all of it. See, that's the other thing that they have used. Thank you, Creator. The other thing that they use is you putting everything on PDFs and in Word or whatever. That's fine. But you need to have a backup for our children. Because they can, as we can see now, they can go in, and I knew, Lance and I talked about this a couple of years ago, how they're going to start going in and erasing Black history. They're doing that.
Yes, indeed.
In your face. And you know, Lance, there are a lot of things you have said over the decades that's, man, I'm telling you, like a prophet. Because, you know, I've gone back and looked at some of your shows. And the thing is because of various reasons, that's why they pick our leaders for us. Because our real leaders are inside of us, down in the trenches. But because they told you that person ain't worth nothing, they got to be up here. Okay, you've been twisted. We have great leaders in our community, but the reason why our people don't see them as leaders, and I'm talking about male and female, okay? Hell, we have children leaders, but because we've been twisted so much, we can't identify them. And here we have Solomon saying here, right here, you know, because he was the darkest one in the family, because all of them was Black, okay? They made him, and so you have to go back and you have to say, okay, this particular, because I hear this argument with people all the time saying, well, how could Lucifer and God exist, and how could Lucifer come out of God? That's because you've been taught. Okay, the law of polarity exists in everything. This is why I often say you can be a Bible toting, script quoting, church going individual and still be against the divine laws of the creator spirit. That's possible because you've been taught incorrectly. And when I say you, I'm talking about me too. Okay, so I ain't no better than you. I'm just telling you that we all been tricked, but now that our pineal glands are fully open, they mad. They can't. I'm telling you, man, I'm so ecstatic that our people just sitting back and looking at this low vibratory vampirism and seeing this unholiness, man. But yet you could have people going in a church preaching every Sunday. You're using the name of an individual that's never existed in history. I'm not saying the person didn't. This is where our people get all twisted again. The letter J was created in America in the 1600s, 1524 to be exact. You can go look it up, okay? I'm tired of this crap. Now, there's no name under the sun that's going to save our people, okay? And you can say this name 150,000 times. It's not going to change anything. We have got to be strategic with what we're doing now, or these people are going to destroy us. And when we get into the middle class and start talking about that, we're going to see exactly what the primary goal is with this Project 2025. Okay. But yeah, Solomon said that they have made me the keeper of the vineyards, but my own vineyard I have not kept. And that reminds me of black folks so much. We so busy keeping other people's vineyards, you know, making sure they're happy, making sure they know we good Christians, you know, all this old crap. And yet we're being destroyed. Now I want to make something plain. I don't have nothing against any religion, okay? 90% of black folks grew up as Christians, including me. What I'm saying to you is now we know that you don't just get to quote a script and then tell me to pray on it or have faith. No. You have what faith without works is dead. That's what you say, right? See, they get angry at me because I know the scripts as well as they do, because I've been in these battles with them before, okay? This ain't nothing new. I'm just doing it on video now. But when I was going through my initial metamorphosis a couple of decades ago, you know, like, I was like, I'm at a crossroads, man. You know the truth. What are you going to do? Are you going to continue to pretend? Because you're the one that's helping. When you're given certain wisdom and knowledge about things, then you're going to be held accountable when you know. See, and this is what's happening to America right now, is that they know the wickedness that they have done to our people. But they're not doing anything about it. And you cannot, okay, you cannot destroy the children of the Most High, Son people, and expect to get away with that. Because throughout what you call religion, you can go back 40,000 years to Ebiwak, okay? The aspect of retribution has always been one of the major tenets of that concept. So we know this exists in the world. So no matter how much you're trying to find, what you're going to try to find in God particles so you can repent or pay reparations or try to do what you can do now. And again, you know, I was looking at that protest yesterday. You know what was interesting? I didn't see any tear gas. I didn't see no dogs being sick. I didn't see no militarized race soldiers out there shooting at our people. I didn't see nobody getting arrested. I didn't see none of that. So it's not, this is what people have to realize too. At least 85 to 90% of communication is nonverbal. And what you don't see tells just as much a story as what you see. Okay. Now, Black folks can get out and protest anything. Usually it's something wicked that has happened to our community. And, you know, the type of what we're met with is military force, way beyond law enforcement. But we didn't see any of that yet. I was looking at every city. And I was like, wow, I didn't even see any police officers. No, I saw some standing behind a barrier, I think, in New York. But that was it. In DC, I didn't see none. I didn't see no law enforcement yesterday. Had Black folks been a part of this march, these marches, it would have been blood running down the streets. And so the thing that we have to be prepared for now, before we go into the last part about you know, what's going on with the socioeconomic legacy over the last 40 years and what they have done to the middle class, and what the ultimate plan is to destroy Black progress. But one of the other things that's happening now is that now it's not that the majority of white people, they know this. A lot of them know this. The problem has been that they have allowed this to be in the majority culture, and the ones that are in control of our institutions, been having our people go to church for 300 years, but yet there are no voices against this. Okay. But now there is. Why? Because unbeknownst to the Luciferians, the Netaru is allowing them to do this so that this all can come to the forefront. And in many ways, I ain't gonna say this because you know, a lot of our people are twisted still. But all I'm going to say is that in a way, this was the best thing that happened to us. Although, you know, nobody wants to go through pain and suffering. But, you know, I'm looking at it like the creative spirit is saying, hey, okay, so you're not going to wake up? Because what they do is, it was a form of mockery. When they say woke, it was a form of mockery as well. Okay. But now that the truth is out, now that you know the hell that Black folks have lived in for centuries here, now that you know that you are destabilizing everything in the world and trying to do the same thing in a Kebalon, we know, and the Caribbean and South America. You know, this is crazy. Canada and Mexico. Who would create a war with your neighbors next to? Who would do that? For what? This makes no sense at all. And this is going to be a hot summer. This is going to be a real hot summer because a lot of people here, the food banks are lined up around. I saw them the other day. Everywhere you go, there are people lined up around food banks. Okay, so let's talk about this last part here. The American socioeconomic legacy. And again, this has been planned for over 40 years. From 1979, when they first introduced crack, to 2020. The American middle class has always been touted as proof that the American dream is possible. However, like most of us, like most of the rhetoric, it is far from reality when we examine the actual record, which we're going to do real quickly. We'll go through the record. See, like, I like to listen to certain people because they expose. So you got a Nazi apartheid person that basically has control over the United States Treasury, which I always thought, not thought, but I've always seen through my research that whoever is in power that control the treasury of a country is really the president, or whatever you want to call them, prime minister or whatever, are the ones that make, the decisions about the direction of the economy. So you got this individual, and I really, really just listened to him when he went up to Wisconsin with that cheese on his head. And I sat back, I was like, listen to some of this crazy. What are these people really trying to do other than buying an election? So he gets up there with that same old. So they use these talking points in both parties to try to, nobody give a damn about no George Soros and all that old crap that you're talking about. We want to know why you cut all of these people off of their jobs. That's what we want to know. Don't care about these talking points that you put spin on. Don't care nothing about that. Stand up there looking like a fool with a thing of cheese on your head when people can't even afford to eat or pay rent or mortgage or whatever. You got to be out of your rabid mind. And he need to be deported back to South Africa, first of all. That's the first thing. And I'm going to sit around and watch you destroy everybody and not do anything about it. Okay. So let's look at what was done. And keep in mind now, this continuation, this project that they're talking about 2025 is what they just expose you to. Okay. But this has been in the works for 40 years. How do we know? Let's look at the record of the middle class. Most Americans will experience at least 7 years of poverty. Most Americans. The middle class in 1985, 59% between 1985 and 2016. Was 59%. So what I'm saying is between 1985 and 2016, we had a strong middle class, which was the backbone of the American socioeconomic structure. And Black people have fought, bled and died and scratched and clawed and spit and did everything. Okay, being last hired and first fired, being degraded, everywhere you go, even though you know that you are somebody that has the character that is you're being labeled as something you're not, and having to face these wicked, unholy vampires, knowing that what they constantly do to our people and then turn right around and laugh in our face. But nonetheless, Black people thrived. Strong Black middle class families and communities. What did they do? They looked at that. It was like, We got to do something about this, because every city that Black folks established, apart from them, that's why, yeah, segregation, bring it back. That's perfect. When you look at American history, Black people excelled the most when we were segregated. That is a fact. Integration, like Dr. King said, I believe I may have led my people into a burning house. That is, and literally, because they burned down towns. So, the thing is one of the things that, and this is why, where they started hitting the Black middle class at. So what we started noticing was what they call wage stagnation, right? Labor issues, inflation. So this is the triple threat. You have wage stagnation, okay, then you have labor issues, and then you have inflation. Well, labor issues where you're fighting for certain rights to, in the working world. And so let's define this real quickly. Wage stagnation causes, there are four causes. Outsourcing the jobs to people they pay $4 or $5 an hour in these other countries, sweatshops or whatever you want to call them. Foreign competition, okay, from corporations in other countries. Then there's automation. Okay, how you simplify the workforce without hiring, a whole lot of people to get something done. And the decline of unions, where the unions, I don't care what they label, because I don't pay attention to political jargon. So I don't care what they call it or the terminology they use. One of the reasons why they're against unions, the billionaires and the Luciferians, is because they teach the vampires, the low vibratory people, that unions mean that Black folks will get certain advantages. So again, all they have to hear is that you're going to benefit from something, which they didn't know, but white farmers are finding this out now, what corporate welfare is, now that they've taken all the money from you. And Black farmers have always known this, because they've always had, Black farmers have had, I can't even remember, I think it was 20 million acres taken from them, something astronomical, stupid. And so, they know how to till the land because they're actual farmers. Okay, always have been. They don't need immigrants to, work their land, because we're natural farmers. But they have taught you that if you're a farmer, that you're below these people that walk around with suits and briefcases that's actually getting money from the farmers. You see how twisted they have taught you? And so we have Black farmers, but we're going to have to support them and protect them, because I remember one case where they were giving Black farmers these soybeans that was killing their soil. I mean, think about what type of diabolical mind would deliberately destroy the food source of a people. Yeah, this is crazy, man. But so along with outsourcing the jobs and the decline of the unions, because of factors such as inflation, cost of living, and outsourcing American jobs, the actual real economic growth has only been 12 cents in the last 70 years. I think you and I discussed this before, Lance, as well. The real, when you factor in inflation, the cost of living, and wage stagnation, the real economic growth is only 12 cents in the last 70 years. So this is how they kept, black people really from rising. Because again, now, when you look at the net worth of white families, it's $300,000. For black families, it's about $40,000. So, we know that this is one of the reasons why no one, and you hear people say, well, I never participated in slavery. Really? But you are benefiting directly from the blood, sweat, and tears of our ancestors, but yet you're not saying anything about the fact that they're not giving black people not even 1% of what we produce. So you're complicit. Because when you go to trial and a judge hear that, you're going to be found guilty. Accessory after the fact. Okay. Well, we know these laws were put in place for black folks, but at the same time, they apply to you as well, depending on your, financial status. If you get a lawyer that knows, the real law, then it's a slam dunk. But there is more poverty in 2024, get this, than in 1984. Even though you look at people and you say, oh, we have really progressed financially. Really? No, you haven't. Why? Because you're wearing more new clothes? Or you're buying more new cars? You got more chains around your neck? Tell me how, if there is more poverty in 20, and again, when they talk about poverty, there are a lot of poor white people, okay, but nothing nearly like us because of the wealth gap and the income gap. So stop letting people twist you around with this. All right. There's more poverty in 2024 than in 1984, which is 40 years. Inflation and consumer prices have also risen, okay, in last 45 years, which is 2/3 of workers said inflation has outpaced any wage or salary gains that they may have had. Okay. 2/3 of workers in the United States said that because of inflation, that any wage increase they got or any benefit, it really didn't, affect them in a positive way because of, no salary gains, no wage increases. Americans are working more hours, but getting less of the bottom line. So now let's look at these statistics as we wrap this up. And we're going to see something that's very, very important, because now when they start hiring people again, guess what's going to happen to black folks? Because they already got your dossier. They know your digital blueprint. They know your zip code. So if we don't work together and create jobs for each other through, doing business with each other, we're going to be... Man, it's so brilliant when you think about what Dr. Claude Anderson was saying way back in the 80s and Dr. George Frazier. It's really, really crazy. Because I couldn't see how are they going to get black folks back in slavery? How is that going to happen? That ain't going to happen. But now I see exactly what this plan is and what they're going to do. Because black folks going to get hit hard, bro. That is a fact. We cannot play no game that you see all these white people out here protesting, but they're going to help each other. Trust and believe that. They're going to rebuild, and guess what's going to happen to you? So all this stuff you're out here talking about nigga this and nigga that, you better get that out of your head. And find a way. You don't have to agree with everything that a person believes or say. I don't care what religion you are. If you want to work with me, let's do it. I don't care. Because 90% of the people I met that said that they're religious are not, whatever religion means. And I judge that by you and these scripts you live by and how you transfer that to people. Okay, so I know that. I got a brain. I've been given a brain, so I can process stuff and I can see it. So let's talk about the U.S. production and hourly compensation growth. Between 1979 and 2020, the U.S. productivity growth was 61.8%. However, during the same period, the U.S. workers' hourly wage grew only 17.5% against 61.8%. This is insane. During this 40-year period, productivity grew a whopping 3 times faster. Okay, so you got Americans producing more, 3 times faster, but yet the bottom line is you're not getting any reciprocal love. The middle class household incomes in 2019 was between $53,000 and $200,000. See, this is what, so when they wiped that out, this was a major part. So here's how it works. Because a lot of times when I listen to our people too, this is where us separating from nature and the divine laws of the universe, where it really hurts us. See, anytime they do 2 things, there is a unholy, low vibratory energy associated with this. That's why you had a 2 parties one. But when you connect a 3rd element, okay, number 3, from fundamental root in the universe, one of the 3, 6, and 9, then you change the energy and the power that you possess over this. Okay. So what they did is they used a 2-prong attack. Okay, first of all, they made you produce more, but they paid you less. And you didn't even realize it, because every time they show you something on the TV, they make it look like because you're wearing new clothes. And don't get me wrong, I love clothes. I'm just talking about the mindset where we prioritize the wrong things first. Hell, I love looking good. But again, it comes down to what you've been taught to give value to. You see on the TV. And so you got our people going around killing each other over this garbage. This is insane. Between 1980 and 2019, the middle class share actually decreased. Let me say that again, by 19%. And while they got you thinking you have increased in some kind of value, when you look at their real numbers, because they cook the books to fool you. Okay, but when you look at the real numbers between 1980, and we're talking about 40 years, in 2019, the middle class share actually decreased by 19%. Okay, now this is why they had to destroy the middle class. At the same time, the upper class households rose an astonishing 21%. Wow. So let me point that out to you again, because there is, the percentage of Black people that are in the upper class is probably 0.0 something. I don't know the actual figure, because when Black people reach that ceiling in the middle class, reach the middle class, then they put up that ceiling. And you ain't going, you certainly not going past them. But you're pretty much stuck in that. And so how it used to be is our people would get these titles and they'll work for 20 years in these companies, and then, you know, they're ready to sit on the sidelines. And again, you know, they have taught our people to attack the messenger and not the message. I'm not trying to put down, when I say, I'm talking about all of us were indoctrinated this way, Neo Frazier included, okay? So don't look at me like I'm trying to, I'm just dealing with the actual raw data, because they use propaganda against our people. Yes, you have made it to the middle class, but let's explain what that means, okay? So you'll know we still got work to do. Between 1980 and 2019, a 40-year period, the middle class share actually decreased. So what they did was, when they started seeing black folks moving up, first they introduced crack in 1979 and 1980. And they saw black folks started moving up, and they couldn't burn down your neighborhoods anymore. Then what did they do? There's nothing new under the sun. The motives are still the same. You just had to find a different way to do it. Okay. And not only that, they begin to teach other cultures that started to come here and started to build generations here to hate black folks like they do, in order to have some proximity to whiteness or white privilege. But now you see that you are all a part of this game as well that was played on you. Every time I read this, man, it's kind of unbelievable. This is why they want to shut down the Smithsonian, because they know that this real information is there, but it's too late. I mean, it's not like you burning down one Timbuktu, now you got black folks all over the world with this information. So there's no burning down Timbuktu again. That ain't happening, buddy. You can close all the black history museums you want. But I'm telling our people, okay, you can have all this stuff on those artificial threads if you want to, okay? You need to start documenting your stuff and classifying it, okay, and having your own library. You can have all these books behind you and all that, but you need to create, because we got to leave something for our children, man. Like, think if our ancestors didn't. So, you know, you can go out there and twerk, and you can go out there and do all this stuff you do, and killing each other and seeing and throwing up this fiat in there and all of that. But your black folks gonna feel some pain and suffering. Okay, and that is because we ourselves, like Solomon said, have been the keepers of other people's vineyards, but our vineyards we have not kept at all. So see, when you look at these scripts, because you've been taught incorrectly, you're looking at a spiritual, emotional feeling. No, this is for practical, everyday living to deal with these unholy spirits and these vampires. This is what this is for. But you don't use it. You use it for an emotional dopamine high. That is not what it's meant for. Okay, and when you start using it to check these vampires, you'll find out how it will benefit our community. Like I said all the time, the scripts, if we use them the right way, will be a great asset for her, because they're also in the, unfortunately though, thank you, Christian, I was just getting ready to say something wrong. Unfortunately, Yeshua is not in our subconscious, okay? I saw something where some black people in Africa, I forgot what, I think it was Kenya, wanted to jump this black bishop. I don't care what religion he is, but he just was saying that there are too many blonde-haired, blue-eyed pictures of Jesus when you got almost 100% black country. I mean, that makes no sense. So we have to check ourselves in all areas. Okay, and people fighting about who, you don't know where you're from. Okay, We know we've been on all continents before anybody else. And they got our people fighting over. That is not something we need to be concerned with. This is insane. Don't you see these people are taking you back to the plantation and you worrying about whether you, what do they call it, FBA, or whether you are African, or whether you, who gives a damn? You black. And that's the number one thing they see, or brown. So this foolishness has got to stop, man. I don't know what's going to come out of this, but man, it's time out for this plantation. And see, these plantation politics that black folks are still playing, as hard as this is to believe, is being passed down to the next generation. But you don't talk to them. I do. I know how they think and why they think that way. Not just the next generation. Some of our people in the 40s and 50s still think the same way. But, you know, let's go back to the real numbers, not what they tell the propaganda. I'm going to read it one more time before I move on, because this is still incredible to me. In 40 years, the middle class share actually decreased by 19%. You know, while upper class households rose an astonishing 21%. And see, that's what they had to hit at. Those white people that you saw out there protesting, they're going after them now. That upper class that got all the stocks and the bonds and all of that, and they already burned down their houses. So, you know, they're going after them now. So black folks can kind of take a sigh of relief, but can't let your guards down. 43% of Americans have grown below the growth productivity between this same 40-year period. Oh my God, that's almost 50% of the people. And you know, if it's almost 50% of the people, white people, what that mean for us. So again, we have to look at the reality, and the reality is it's a slow burn. And they have bamboozled us. It's a slow burn, but we can recover now. Again, I'm so proud of our people. Our pineal gland is open where, you know, we are seeing this now. But yeah, 43% of Americans have grown below the growth productivity between this same 40-year period, which includes housing. And the housing cost shot up 190% in that 40-year period. College tuition went up an unbelievable 260%, making it increasingly impossible to send black children to college. Last but not least, finally, outsourcing American jobs outside of the country for corporate profit has all but decimated the middle class in America. You add in labor shortage, massive corporate layoffs, like we're seeing now, and the selection process, the job competition, which they are going to do, where they're going to look and say, oh, that's a black person. That's what they're going to start doing. And they're teaching these other cultures to do this as well. And based on if they want to work for minimum wage, if they don't, guess what? We got 100 people over here, resumes that'll take $5 an hour. Yeah, based on minimum wage complicity. If you don't, if you're not complicit to work for $5 an hour, they're gonna pass you over. And they know most black folks, you know, are not. Why should they? Automation and decline of unions. You have 2024 America. In 2018, just 7 years ago, a third of the people living in the U.S. didn't have $700 in emergency cash. With that, brother, I'll conclude today. Yeah.
Yes, brother.
Yeah. So we are in the real war now.
Yes, indeed.
And they're going to be firing. So the other sad part about this is they're going to be paying our own people. You're going to see more coons coming out. Because when you look at somebody looking at the fact of, and they already have us thinking this way, well, I'm going to get mine before you get yours, nigga. You get yours the best way you can. They're going to have people fighting. They're going to have black people fighting against each other. They're going to have black people fighting against Latinos, Asians, Arabs, Indians. They're going to have all of these culture of people, because it's only one race, the black race. They're going to have all these culture of people fighting against each other. And we see that now. We see what this massive game plan is. But I see some encouraging signs. You know, we still gonna have the issues that we have with the plantation politics, but I see a light at the end of the tunnel for black folks. Because again, when you look at 1.9 or $2 trillion in power, you got to realize what kind of power you have. That's like the fifth largest economy in the world. We're not talking about just America, okay? So you have to know who you are, you have to know the power you have, and then you have to work with other black people like they do to stop stuff. You ain't got to be protesting nothing. You ain't got to be marching with nobody about nothing. We've been there, done that. That's over with. All you got to do is say, oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, let's send out a SOS to all black folks that we ain't buying your product no more, and see how quick you come back to the table. See, you have power that you are unaware of, that you're now becoming aware of, which is good. So yeah, brother, I mean, it looks like we're going to have to buckle in and really just grit our teeth and say, okay, bring it on. You know, bring it on. We're going to have to, we got the gloves on. We in the ring. You're either going to be carried out in the ring unconscious, or you're either going to fight, you know, because black folks fight. Okay, that's the difference too. We've always, because we have had to, we have a legacy of this. Because when somebody is trying to literally kill you and your children and everybody that look like you, you ain't got no choice. And so this is why we know, okay, we know that ultimately the same thing gonna happen. Black folks gonna have to fight by themselves. We have no friends. Dr. John Clark and all of our scholars have already shown us we have no friends. And if we did, black people would get so much love, we wouldn't even have to worry about no damn pandemic, okay? Because our ancestors have put in the work. We have put in the work. So I don't want to hear nothing about these people that's doing this every day and preaching all this stuff to our people. Mm-hmm. And so, brother, keep it going, man. I'll check with you.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
We were talking about
putting in the work. Definitely. It's a pleasure always. And thank you for sharing with us your studies and your perspectives, and much appreciated. Consistently. Look at how you're doing it, brother.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Labor of love, and we love what you do. And our lives wouldn't be the same without you. Now, I'm not laying it on thin, but see, every Monday we can get a little bit of this, and it alters our thinking and keeps us in line. There's a lot of propaganda out there, and you bring facts, and it helps. It helps to lessen the stress, all of the stuff getting in our head that's not real. And I thank you. You're also a doctor because of that. You help us to heal.
Well, thank you, brother. Well, like Dr. Sabi, I like to look at the fact that just like you, anytime I bring anything to our people, it has to be something to help uplift us because we got, you personally, me personally, we got our own people coming at our heads, and people that you help and, and they turn around and betray you and it's an awful feeling. But yeah, brother, have a great day. Keep
Thank you, brother.
Punches. Hold on to that belt, and I'll be looking to talk with
Oh,
you again
would.
soon.
Yes, thank you,
sir.
brother. Thank you so much.
Here's my head. Oh yeah.
All right, brother.
Yes,
thank you.
All right, take care.
Yes. Much love to all who are here. And music came a little too fast. Much love to you all. Thank you for coming through. I'll get up and do another morning show early on the balcony. I did that and it was appreciated. And still, I have to say that the consistency is still going to come. We've been doing a lot of work here. A lot of work and a lot of things are coming through good. And yeah, I'm not going to say anything ahead of time. You'll see, because we always continue to press forward. And I'm very, very happy where I am in life. And this particular junction point, and the countdown begins 5:34 a.m. East Coast time. Old Scurv turned 62. And this is just the beginning. In the prior 24 years of me being online, it's just a warm-up. And so we're going to come through harder and even more untouchable. But on that note, I just want to say so long. I'll talk to you tomorrow, later on, and you're much appreciated. Thank you so much.